Hi everyone, I'm Jill.
And I'm Alice.
And this is Waterfront Wednesdays, brought to you by Boston Harbor Now. Hey Ferry.
Hey.
You're pretty into ferries.
And bikes.
Right, ferries and bikes, hence boat and bike tours.
Correct.
And bikes you've been thinking about for a while, but ferries is relatively new.
It's true. Today is my 2-year work anniversary at Boston Harbor Now.
Woohoo!
And before that, I was just an observant passenger on ferries.
So today we're going to talk about lessons learned on the job, and we're going to have a conversation about where Boston ferries go. So let's start with talking about boats and bikes.
So boats and bikes was the idea that I would give tours, and I'm going to be giving 4 this summer. Stay tuned. The last 2 summers, I've taken people out and I've said, you know, if you're coming to Boston by ferry, you can take advantage of the transit system when you arrive. But if you want to go exploring, most of the other ferries go to places that are a little more disconnected from transit. So if you want to really explore, bring a bike.
And if you're like me, you probably think about boats sort of like the commuter rail comparison. You drive your car to the dock or the station.
Exactly. And for a lot of people, that's what it is to take the ferry. So They're driving to a dock, they're coming into the city, and they're parking. And my goal for the bike tours is to say, if you live in Boston, you're not maybe going to commute by boat to a lot of places. Maybe you don't work in Hingham, but that you're someone who might want to go exploring, and I want to offer that as an option.
So let's talk about where those ferries take you. Tell me more about the system.
So the largest ferry system in Boston is
Hingham.
Yes, and it carries over 800,000 passengers per year. Of the ferries that operate today, it's been operating the longest since 1975.
Whoa. And that one is operated, or the service is provided by MBTA, so it's the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority.
Correct, the T.
Right.
They actually offer 2 kinds of service from Hingham. So there's a boat that leaves from Hewitt's Cove and goes to Rose Wharf, and then there's another one that sometimes stops at Pemberton Point in Hull, as well as Hewitt's Cove, goes to Long Wharf, and sometimes goes to Logan.
And in the summer, that one stops at George's Island.
It does. And they're ones that are used primarily by South Shore commuters who are going to do one of 3 things. They're commuting every day in the morning. They're really consistent commuters. There are people who are coming into the city for concerts and baseball games, and they're really excited.
Fun stuff.
Yep. And then there are people who come to go to Logan Airport. There are people who bring their suitcases, and that's how they get there.
And then there's also a third one, and that's the one that goes to Charlestown.
Yep. And the Charlestown Ferry provides a commuter connection for people who live in the neighborhood, particularly in the Navy Yard. It leaves from Pier 4. But it also provides residents and tourists a chance to visit the Navy Yard, go to the USS Constitution, walk the Freedom Trail, and then come back downtown on the boat.
The really great thing about that one is that the neighborhood alone doesn't have to sustain the ridership.
Right, ridership is a big deal. And Salem has also taken advantage of this. The Salem Ferry provides commuter-timed ferries at a commuter rail-ish price. And then midday and on weekends, they charge higher prices to tourists who want to get to Salem. If you live in the North Shore and you're a resident, you can always get a discounted price. But for most people, you're paying a premium to travel there for fun.
And that one is not an MBTA service.
Correct. It is operated by Boston Harbor Cruises, who also operates the MBTA services.
And Boston Harbor Cruises does the high-speed ferries to Provincetown, and I know that because I've taken it from Long Wharf.
Exactly. As does Bay State Cruises, who also provides service to P-Town from the Seaport World Trade Center.
So those are open to the public, but they are privately owned and operated.
Exactly. The converse is publicly owned and operated services like the Winthrop Ferry, which is owned by the town of Winthrop, goes from the Winthrop Town Dock as well as from Squantum Point in Quincy, and takes people into downtown Boston and the Seaport. It's in their 4th season this summer.
So those are really new, but there's even a newer one, right?
Yes.
There's the Lovejoy Wharf one from North Station.
Mm-hmm. And that's the idea that we're going to consolidate people who are coming in from North Station and help take them all at once to their jobs in the Seaport.
And that is such a great concept, right? We started with this notion of multiple employers putting their employees on a shuttle to get them from the Seaport to North Station. So that was one level of consolidation.
Yep, all the shuttles in one.
Correct. And then now we took those folks and we put them on a boat, and that means that we've taken those people off the road, out of traffic.
Exactly. And a similar concept is being used by Encore Casino. They don't really want people driving to that casino, and so they've built a water transportation dock in Everett, and they're going to be providing shuttle service on water transportation fancy boats this summer to downtown Boston, because it's really nice to travel by boat.
Of course. But even though you love ferries, what I love is how candid you are about the fact that maybe ferries are not a silver bullet for everything.
Not a silver bullet. You need to have ridership to sustain transit service. And in order to do that, you need to be able to say, oh, you're living on an island. That's convenient. Or provide people with real cost savings or time travel savings. Otherwise, a certain number of people are just going to choose to drive.
Right, so think about it. If it's too expensive or if it takes longer, people are only going to use it sporadically or for fun.
Right. In places like Hull, it's really great. It provides significant time travel savings, but that's not true everywhere, so you have to be able to compete.
So the key here is you need a lot of people who are guaranteed to use it.
Absolutely. It takes a lot to run a boat. They're not cheap. You have to buy the vessels or lease them, maintain them, pay for fuel costs, and then the operators, the people who are working on the boat.
So enter your boat and bike trips and raising awareness about the fact that ferries are not just a great way to commute, but they're also a really great way to explore.
Absolutely. So I hope that this summer you can join us on the waterfront. Take a boat bike tour or start commuting by ferry.
Perfect. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jill Valdez-Horwood.
I'm Alice Brown.
Check us out at Harbor Horwood
or at Ferry.
And if you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and throw us a like.
Or comment below. Tell us where you take the boat or what you'd like to see on a future episode. We'll see you on a ferry.